Welcome everybody to our third preseason NERSA NCAA football officiating group meeting. Appreciate everybody hopping on tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Ken Cloud and Devin Aller, who are going to talk about the deep three kicking game stuff. So gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So my name's Ken Cloud, work side judge in the Missouri Valley, and then Devin Aller will be doing this with me. He works back judge in the Missouri Valley. We had the opportunity to work the spring season together last year, so we got to work through some of these kicking plays together. So primarily, our plan for tonight is get through a few slides with basic mechanics and initial positioning. I apologize if everyone on here already knows this, but hopefully you can get something out of this, even if it's just a better understanding of what your deeps are doing during kicking plays. And then after that, we'll spend a good amount of time going through some plays, and hopefully people will chime in. We want this to be interactive, so even if you don't work deep three, please offer up your thoughts. And if you work deep three, if you have anything to add, please do so. So with that, I'm going to try to share my screen here. Does everyone see?
Yep, we got
my slides?
We're good.
Yep, good to go.
Perfect. All right. So as far as mechanics go with the kicking game, so when you work deep three, a lot of unique things can happen in the kicking game, especially punt plays and even kickoffs, even field goals. So that's why it's really important to try to have extremely good physical and mental mechanics. If you come out thinking that it will just be an ordinary kickoff with the touchback, and then something difficult does happen, you may get yourself in trouble. If you expect the unexpected and start thinking of different possibilities that can happen, then hopefully when something difficult does happen, you're prepared to get a difficult play correct. So basic initial positioning on kickoffs. So your S and your H, you'll be on the chains in the second half, be on the press box side in the first half. On the 45s, back judge and umpire are staying on the same sideline the entire game. Of course, on the 35s. So when we talk about expecting the unexpected, here's just some things you can be thinking about when you're setting up for a kickoff. If you expect an onside kick and it happens, then you're prepared for it. If you're just hanging out and you're waiting for him to just put it in the end zone, and then they onside kick it, you are going to be a lot more likely to have some bad things happen, and then we can get in trouble. So if we're just thinking about these things, it can certainly help us be in a better position to get a tough play correct when that time happens. With OnSite Kicks, I learned a new acronym from Devin when we were putting this presentation together, and he taught me the ABCs of OnSite Kicks. A is for a ball kicked away from you, then you have blocks. B, if the ball's kicked towards you, you got the ball. And C is the clock. Don't forget the clock, which fits right into this slide here. Far side, you have early blocks by A. Near side, you're going to have the ball, the clock, and then a few other things. Anything near the sideline, touching out of bounds, etc. We'll also go through some actual plays, some video with some good. I know at least one good onside kick play.
Ked, real quick, I just want to talk about positioning. So we always talk about expecting the unexpected. And so one of those things you can do is to always set up the same way for the back judges and umpires, is to set up the same way every single time. So like when I first came in, I was always told to kind of start heavy on one side. So you're almost like a yard downfield so you can get a view. And then it was brought up by an umpire actually, is that when you do that, if there is an onside kick, you might miss the offside because you're not in a position to actually view that. And so always set up as you would for an onside kick every single time. And then you're mentally telling yourself to treat it like an onside kick. Another like thing I was told is to look at where the head coach is during like the opening kickoff or during regular kicks, because if they're always downfield, and then all of a sudden, especially as a back judge, or if they're on my side, if all of a sudden that head coach is sitting next to me, that's probably a good sign that something weird's going to happen. So it's just little things like that can always be a little warning sign too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Devin, I'll let you go through some punt mechanics.
Yeah, so I like to set up as a back judge right off of the shoulder of the punt returner and about 5 to 7 yards. And a lot of that just depends on the punter, where the returner's initial position is and things like that. If the returner's on the 10, I'll automatically be on the goal line. And the key is there to stay on the goal line as long as possible. And I think the thing that has come back the most from my graders is that I'm coming off the goal line too quickly. And then another thing is that I'm not allowing myself to get wide. So when you're working on the goal line back judges, as that returner, he might be moving up or floating around. You're just working on that goal line, and your goal is to get as wide as possible so you can still get that angle. The field judge and side judge, you guys will work off of me, right? You're going to work off of the back judge. And then the key is just to get a real quick read on that kick and adjust on the depth, the flight. And what I always tell, and Ken, you can kind of attest to this, is, I need help on the gunners because my sole focus is on this punt returner, making sure he's protected. That's what I tell him. I'm going to protect him. I tell the special teams coordinator. And all of a sudden when contact happens, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to assume that gunner got in there because he was trying to blow up the returner. So I'm going to throw my flag, and it's really on the deep wings to come in and relay the information on, hey, he was pushed in. Hey, he was contacted and pick your flag up. Ken, we've had them before where it's just a simple head nod. Yep, KCI, and we go report it and we're done. So even if the punt is away from you, so like in this example here, if the punt is towards the field judge, side judges, you can help out because if your gunner's coming down, that's all you've got to help out on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, side judge, field judge. I always like just line up off the back judge and then adjust accordingly. Unless if we're inside the 50, the mechanics that our supervisor wants us using is we're on the goal line, and don't leave the goal line until it's no longer threatened. So, and then to your next point, and I think we get into that as we go here. Side judges, field judges, you are responsible for your gunner, of course. And if that gunner gets blocked in to the returner and your back judge has a flag down, that's on us to get out there and relay that information to our back judge. Do you want to add anything more on this one, Devin?
I think the big thing, and you touched on it again, is like just stay on the goal line, especially like it's very easy. And I got caught a lot of when the punt returner moves up to wanting to move up with them. Instead, just get wider on the goal line to keep your angle. Because if that ball hits and skips into the goal line, the last thing you want to be doing is moving forward when that ball is going against you. And that's any back judge can attest, that's a terrible feeling to have. Just plant yourself on that goal line.
Here's a slide on, of course, side judge, field judge have the gunners. Back judge, you're getting that angle, and then all of us can help out on fair catch signals. Sometimes these kids, they have some interesting signals that they try to get away with now, and sometimes the back judge can't see it. So if you see an invalid signal, certainly can help out and get the play shut down.
Yeah, shut it down. And then if the returner gets tackled, relay the information to the returner or to the referee. And if you guys are mic'd, that's a great example of a use of the mic for the referee to come out and say there is no foul for X, Y, and Z because it was an invalid signal, whether it's KCI or a personal foul or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So for back judges, always expect KCI. Just, you don't want to, I don't know, more times than not, if you throw, at least in our league, if you throw for KCI, you'll be supported. It's a safety foul. Slow whistle is key. I have one of those whistles that hang on my wrist, and I don't even hold my whistle during a punt. So I'm telling myself I have to take the extra time to grab my whistle and take it. I've had an inadvertent on a punt before. It's a terrible feeling. So just slow whistles. Always expect a muff. That's part of a fair catch too. We see the fair catch signal and our mind jumps to killing it right away. If he muffs it, that's where that slow whistle comes into play. Also, a pet peeve of mine is seeing guys throw a beanbag when they're not supposed to throw a beanbag. So we all know that the beanbag signifies either the end of the kick or touching by A. And so if you see a muff by the punt returner, you shouldn't be throwing a bag unless it's immediately picked up by him. Ken, you want to talk a little bit on how if you're near side or far side as a deep wing and how that kind of changes, I don't want to say responsibilities, but what you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, if the punt's coming towards you and you've got the way I like to handle KCI is really only if it's bad, then I may join you with a flag. But if it's a a run by in the 1 yard halo, I'm gonna let the back judge take care of that. Everyone may handle that a little differently. That's just how I like to be involved with potential KCI. Of course, if you're far side from the punt, I would highly recommend not being involved in KCI. And then, yeah, so we both sides, you have your your gunners. And then if you're far side, just go ahead and once that gunner's clear of anything, any fouls, then go ahead and move your vision upfield and try to help out with blocks. And we all know these are prime time situations for blocks in the backs and blindside blocks. And then if you're near side, stay right there at the point of attack. And then, that sometimes you get some holdings in there or different illegal blocks. But either way, clear your gunner and then move your vision upfield to help out with the blocking during the return.
Alrighty, so field goals. What I'll always do with the field judge is we'll get our 11 count right away, and then we will relay our eligible numbers. And that stuff can be taken care of ahead of time, earlier in the week with Scout. I'll get my numbers right away. Our umpire always does a great job of coming in with numbers for formations for tries and field goals of the sort, and I'll confirm those. Obviously, things can change, so always check those, but you never know on a broken play. What you don't want is for someone to catch the ball in the end zone and you don't know where they started from. And that's a pretty eerie feeling. So try to get those numbers of eligible players. If it's a field goal instead of a try, we'll always relay that it's I say slow whistle, just to confirm everything. On 7-man, the side judge is going to be on the heavier defensive side. And then on an 8-man, they're going to be opposite of the center judge, which is a little different. We work in a 7-man situation, but there are times for 8-man as well. We're going to show a blocked field goal later on tonight, so we'll talk about that. For swinging gate, this might change based on your coordinator or your conference. The way that we work is that the deep 3 treat a swinging gate as like a potential 2-point play. And so the side judge is kind of going to hang out until we are in a kicking formation. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, if they come out for a PAT, for example, and they're in a swinging gate, then side judge will go with the swinging gate, and then if they shift over, then just go ahead and move over, and don't try to jump to the heavier side, or just stay on that side, follow the gate in.
It's not very, I mean, there's one team in our conference that runs it, and they run it every single time. So your conference might not have anyone do it. I know until I got into the Valley, I saw it maybe twice total. And now, depending on if you have that team, you're going to see it every single time. So just be prepared. Again, that's something that can be handled in Scout, and you guys as a crew can talk about as you're prepping for the week.
One other piece to add, if it's a PAT, you, as a double umpire side judge, you don't worry about the heavier side. Just come in at whatever side of the field that you're on.
So on any sort of fake field goal or on a broken play, if we're outside the 20, and we'll always talk about this too, at least we try to, if it's outside the 20, we'll say outside the 20 for 2 reasons. One, because it tells us if something happens, we have the pylons. But 2, it's where our next snap is going to be on a miss, right? There's always potentials for things there. Same thing if we're inside the 20, that changes for us. So we might say, hey, we're outside the 20 or snap at the 26 or hey, snap at the 15. If we're inside the 20, the line of scrimmage guys are going to the goal line. If we're outside the 20, we're the deep two, back judge, field judge, will be going to the pylons. And the play that we're going to show, we're outside the 20, and you can kind of see it start of us starting to move to the pylons. It just cuts off is all.
All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the slides? If you don't, that's fine. From here, we're going to move into plays.
Yeah, I got a couple things. This is Paul Stout. When it comes to punts, the side judge or field judge that is the backside guy, especially when the back judge is on the goal line, has to help out with whether or not the potential fair catch signaler blocked or not. And that's something that I believe needs to be pre-gamed. Because if I'm watching the ball as a back judge, the person that is looking at my back needs to help me with whether that signaler, if he gives a fair catch signal, blocks or not. So that's just something in pregame that you guys need to talk about, I believe. And after that play is over with, come in and say, yes, he blocked, or no, he did not block. That way our communication is good and we don't miss that blocking after a fair catch signal. And the other comment I had on field goals is when there's a kicker and holder in place, we are in regular scrimmage kick formation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If they're in place, not, we're talking the holders down, kicker set up.
Yep.
Yes.
They have to be in place. That's
Yeah.
the only time we're going to kick formation.
Yes.
Okay. But talk a little bit more, maybe if you want to, about the backside help on that fair catch signaler blocking, because that, as a back judge, would save our bacon.
Hey, Paul, did you say far side or near side would be the primary help?
Well, if I'm boxing in with the field judge between the hash mark and the sideline, the side judge, the guy that's looking at my back, needs to know whether or not let's say the punt returner gives a fair catch signal, he's feinting a catch and he runs up and he blocks somebody. That guy that's looking at the back judge's back has to know whether he blocked or not, because the back judge is responsible for the football.
Okay.
Paul, I think that's a good point. And that's something that we didn't pregame that. But maybe once during the season. But I think I just wrote it down actually. We'll make it part of our normal pregame. You know, we had a side judge who would come in and just kind of say, hey, he blocked or he didn't. And most of the time, these guys, they weren't, I guess we just got lucky. He didn't signal. He ran up to fake the catch, but he would run up to the point where I guess everyone realized that they were going to pin him deep, you know, pin him inside the 5 or something like that. But like I said, I just wrote that down to add that into a normal pregame, because you're right, as a back judge, I have no idea if he's blocking or not. My focus is on the ball on the goal line, right?
You're going to know if he's signaled or not.
I'll know if he's signaled, but not right, because the last thing you want is. Yeah. Yeah.
I pregame that every week, because you know as well as I do, it might not be the same crew every week. So if you just pregame that every week, it just, number one, it reminds you to do that. And then as a back judge, if you know the guy signaled and he went up and feinted a catch, just walk over to your backside guy and say, hey man, did he block or not? And hopefully they say, yeah, I saw it, he did not block. But if you just pregame that And it doesn't happen very often, but when it does and you nail it, look how good that is for everybody. So
Yeah.
throw that into your pregame, and as a back judge, you should know that I'm going to go talk to my offside deep wing after this is all done and ask him what happened.
Thanks, Paul. It's a good point.
Yep.
I would say one thing real quick, Ken, and not from a deep perspective, but when you get these long field goals, you know, we're all used to working as a line scrimmage guy with inexperienced chain gangs. I would make it a point, if we're kicking a field goal from outside the 20, to turn to your box guy and tell him to stay until you move them, because we need that spot. And sometimes, you know, sometimes those guys see kicks and just start drifting around. So make a mental note of where we're kicking from, but also try to get your box guy to hold it.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Anyone else have anything? Or we can start into some plays. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay. So if I did this right, can you guys see mine?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, first play. It's going to be a punt play. Maybe. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's hope it's not choppy. All right, so the broadcaster was right. It was blocking the back. And this was mine, so we can speak very candidly, and that's okay. Because Ken and Frank were both on this game, and we spoke candidly about this play, if I remember right. So we'll see the action here after the catch. So the question for here isn't if it's blocking the back or not. The question is, how is this enforced? Or how should this be enforced? Or where it should be enforced at, I guess. So kick ends at the 15, we'll say. And blocking the backs at the 17.
So does it
And
meet PSK protocol?
well, let's talk.
Blue ended up with it. There wasn't a fumble, right?
Nope, there's no fumble with it.
Okay.
It wasn't during the kick though.
No, yeah, true. Not TSK.
So this is just a
Typical run play.
3-and-1.
Yeah, it's just 3-and-1 then.
Correct. So, remember how I said, don't come off the goal line because nothing good really happens there. I didn't listen to my own rule, so I'm coming up during this return. We have the block in the back, which is fine. And then I continue to move up. I'll let this play out. And as the returner tries to spin around, I'm just getting closer and closer to this play. The problem is when I go to report, referees don't move a flag. That was a comment as well. Fast forward this, I move my bag. And the reason why I move my bag
During the return.
was because I rushed and I said, when Rick asked me, hey, was this during the kick? And I said, yeah. And he said, so PSK? I said, absolutely. So I was moving too fast. So we enforced this wrong. Now, in the end of it, where everything went down, our enforcement was fine. The graders never saw this, that we enforced it wrong. And so that was fine. We noticed it the next day. And I called up Rick and said, hey, man, I think we screwed up. And that's something that Ken and I talked a lot about, is as a deep wing, you can help out with that as well on some of the enforcement on these, because during a kick play, the kicks don't happen that often in a game. We put ourselves in a rush naturally when there's a foul. And on kick plays, it's really easy to screw up enforcement. And this could have been a really big screw up. Unfortunately for us, it wasn't a huge one as far as yardage goes. The other thing that should have registered with me is, and I don't know, Paul, maybe you can talk about this, but I don't know a time that I called a block in the back during a kick, because I was focused on the punt returner, not the action around the punt returner. And so for me to call a block in the back should have been a register like, no, that shouldn't have been during the kick. That's during the return. So, and I think Ken and I talked about this play the rest of the season, actually, if I'm right, about slowing each other down, making sure we have the enforcement right before we go report.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you throw a flag for a block in the back, that means you've cleared your kick. Your kick is over with. So somebody needed to slow you down and just relax and think about what you just saw again. And for you to throw a block in the back, it's during the return. Absolutely, because you've cleared the kick.
All right. Billy, I know you're on the call too. Like, what are you, when you're up against the goal line and stuff like this? I mean, what are you going through? Do you have any sort of pre-snap?
I remember Dino is like, this is our chance where you could actually just walk, even like if that returner's going up to field the kick at like the 15, 16 yard line. He wants us so slow that almost like looks like we're walking up there.
Yeah. And I think another thing too, and Billy Willis, you mentioned this too, like the back judges don't have the progress spot, right?
Never.
Yeah, never. The deep wings get that. So they get to run up and stop the clock, and the back judges get to stroll up all nice and cool, get the ball, get that real strong point.
Get the TV time.
Yeah, flex a little bit. That's why we do the push-ups in the locker room,
Right.
give the strong point. So again, like I got in that rush. I tried to move up and it did not work out well. So Ken.
Yeah.
This one is
So this is a kickoff that does not involve the deep three. This is a fantastic piece of officiating. And before you hit play, this goes back to our first slide about mechanics and expect the unexpected. And this individual just absolutely nails this. And it could have easily, if you were just expecting a touchback or a kick out of bounds, you could have easily missed this one. So just let it run. So I don't know, Nick or Frank or anyone from the line of scrimmage want to say anything about this? I mean, we found this when we were looking for plays for this presentation, and we thought as far as kicking plays go and expecting the unexpected, with really great mechanics, that this would be a good play.
Spryzak, you on? Maybe not.
Yeah, to say this
Go ahead.
this play actually made the national training tape. That's how well it's executed. Good poise at the goal line. I mean, I know I probably wouldn't have done this as well as this official did, but you know, recognizing one that the ball was live at that point. Two, that the ball cannot be, you know, advanced by K. So, you know, once he recognizes that possession, that K has possession, moves up to where that occurred, gets a spot, strong signal. I mean, it's a great piece of officiating.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Frank. There's a lot on this play too, because you have to figure, you know, does he have a foot down when he picks the ball up? If so, we shouldn't take time off the clock. Is he airborne when he touches the kick? If so, we should wind the clock and then it's dead where he lands. So there's a lot of those kinds of decisions you have to make in a split second, which is pretty similar to what we would be doing on an onside kick as a deep wing. You know, there's a lot of those kind of pieces to put together.
But I agree. I think it's a really good job of officiating. I do have a question about this from a short wing kind of referee's position, and not so much on this play. But what do we think about the returner's doing with his arms? And I don't know if it's kind of choppy from where I'm watching it. Is he like telling everybody to get away, or just kind of like doesn't know where?
Yeah, he is sticking his arm straight out. I mean, he was he was convinced this was going in the end zone.
Yeah,
And then he had that uh-oh reaction.
yeah.
But they want that to be a signal, don't they?
That's what I thought. That's what I was kind of getting at. I thought that they want that to be like an invalid, right?
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
fine on the kickoff if he catches it,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a signal.
Yeah. Well, and not so much for this. Again, this play is different. But if he runs, say one runs over there and say it lands at the numbers, and he picks it up and starts running, they want that killed where he picked it up at, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, but yeah, no, this is an excellent job from the short wing on this.
Can we see the end zone view again?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the advantage would be for that whatever deep wing coming into the field of play.
I think that's the umpire.
Umpire is like between the numbers and the hashes.
I bet the deep wing thought it was going to be a touchback too and started to come in. That's my only guess.
Yeah.
That is exactly what. So we talked about that. This is
Okay.
our game. So we actually talked about that. And he kind of said the same thing. We all had this idea. I mean, if you watch even myself and the umpire, we get to like the numbers, like, okay, touchback. And you hear the crowd go, you're like, oh, this can't be good. And then I just saw this pile of white in the end zone. I'm like, oh, this really isn't good. So we had to figure that out. But yeah, that's exactly what happened with our field judge. So. I play 6. Okay, here is the blocked field goal. And I was hoping to get a referee, if we have center judges on here, line of scrimmage. Because I just talked about it as a deep wing. So if we could have the referee, umpire, center judge, line of scrimmage guys talk about their their process of blocked field goals?
With 7-man, when I'm the referee, I pregame it. I tell if you see my back, if you see my R, you hold the line, because it still could conceive, more so for punts than field goals, but same thing. You still have to hold the line, and the referee, and if you can't see mine, then that means me and you have the goal line. Then I work 7-man, so but that's kind of my process when we talk about it.
Okay.
On a block kick.
All right. I think AJ, are you on tonight?
Yep. Yeah, I'm
All right.
here.
You are, okay. I don't know if you want me to run this through, or if you want to talk about, what's your process on blocked field goals?
Yeah, you can let it play. Take a look at this again. So there, again, I'm gonna know if I looked at the TV feed right, it was 4th and real long, but I'm gonna know who my eligibles are. So they're unbalanced right now. So pre-snap on this particular play, communicating with my crossfield partner, we're unbalanced, which means the side at the bottom obviously has potential three eligibles, and the side at the top would just have the one. So that's, again, not getting too specific in balanced and unbalanced, but that's something that I'm aware of, because when it is blocked, or if it is blocked, that's important to know who may go downfield. I'm not going to be in a big hurry to run one way or the other. I'm going to let the play kind of dictate where I go. Now this thing's blocked and starts to roll, I think, all the way back towards midfield. So I am going to probably start to work that way, because I'm telling myself I have goal line to goal line on this play. Now, deep wings may come up and work, depending on where it's kicked from, may come up and help with that goal line where they're kicking to. But on this play, I'm going to start to work like that line of scrimmage official does at the top, back in case it is scooped and scored. But again, the more stationary I can be on any play, I'm going to move with my eyes on this, not so much my feet. But as it does get blocked near midfield, I'm going to start to work into the backfield. I would hope that the umpire is going to be able to come up and hold the line of scrimmage.
I love the quote you just said there. I'm going to move with my eyes and not my feet. I think that's there's a quote I heard like at my first clinic: you're either running or you're reffing.
Yeah, and
I think I'm going to adopt that one now.
Right, on these particular plays, I mean, really any play, but these particular plays, I think our instinct is just we rarely get block kicks, right? So I think our instincts just kind of run with the football, run with the action. But if you can really try and stay stationary as much as you can, truly read and then react to the play, I think you're going to be in a better position to work this. Now this play, right, it just blocked and then it's over.
Yeah.
So I think we can work. It appears that way, at least in the couple of shots that I'm seeing. But just pause. I think from a line of scrimmage perspective, probably every position on the field, but really get a read, and then once you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, then start to move. At the end of the day, you're not going to beat that return team to the goal line anyway. You could try, but read it first and then react would be my suggestion on that particular play.
Can we go back to that last play, please?
Yep. Trying to
At the snap.
At the snap.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I was going to point something out as well.
Go ahead, Frank. You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, so this is me at the top, I believe, right, Devin?
Yep.
Yeah, so the issue that I didn't do a good job of keeping the sideline clear. So if you pause it right there, just before the snap, look where the head coach is at, right? And to his right, you got another player that's in the white. So now as the kick goes and gets blocked, I gotta hustle. Now I gotta work my way around people. I probably should have at least had a flag down for a sideline warning. I did not, and that's on me. But that's just something to keep in mind. You know, in a play like this, is make sure your sideline's clean, because this could turn ugly quickly, where I could end up running somebody over, and it turns into an additional 15 yards on top of where the play ends, just because I didn't do my job of keeping the sideline clear. Was that where you're going with, Paul?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, good work. Next. Mr. Ken, the fun one.
Yeah. Well, Nick, for Teachable Moments, this is a good one.
Hey, somebody read my
So-
email. Great.
So you see the score, you see the time. They're setting up for an onside kick. They're going to kick it right at me. I think mechanically, we handled it fine. We even talked before we had a flag for a kick out of bounds. But the problem is we misenforced or we misinterpreted the foul. This was not a kick out of bounds. He legally touched it in the field of play. So if you want to just run it, then we can discuss. But yeah, the biggest thing is we just kicked the bucket on the foul. The good news is we really didn't change the game. So go ahead and play it.
All right, so I'm gonna go to the high sideline, so we don't have to hear the announcing the stuff, but like Ken talked about earlier, the ABCs, which is not my thing, by the way. I have to give credit to Steve Flanagan for that one, who's the king of acronyms. If the ball's away from you, okay, so the guys at the bottom, all right, the three of us should be watching blocks. Away from you is blocks. The ball comes towards you, like those at the top, you've got the ball. All right. The C is clock. And there's also a T, which I forgot to tell Ken about. I just had to save something. But the T is touching. So who touches the ball and when?
So two additional comments. On the clock, we should have ran a second. If you can, I don't know if you can see, but the return team leaps from inbounds while airborne, catches it, and lands out of bounds. So we should have ran a second off the clock, and then should have just gave them the ball at that spot. But instead, we gave them 5 additional yards, and I don't think we ended up taking a second off the clock. I cannot remember.
We did not, because that was also something that we had talked about the next day. I remember that being part of it, discussion as well. So,
Although I do get the point for if especially if you've called the flag for not taking the second off, because
Yep.
it hasn't been legally touched.
Right.
In your thought process, it hasn't been legally touched in mount, so why would I take a second off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
No.
that's-
Yeah.
We were incorrect the whole way through, but we were right the way we did it, right?
That's right.
I think there's one thing on this too, is we can play it back real quick. But at one point you'll see, right? So, and Ken kind of talked about this too, is right after, I know I'm kind of going through here, but he touches it, catches it in bounds, and then goes right out of bounds. And Ken does mention that, him and the short wing, they do look at each other and they do communicate that, hey, we have a foul. And so, I mean, I think that is something important too, is to, with onsides, you do have an extra guy in the box, right? You do have someone extra in the box, so use them for one. And then as we go along, you'll see that there's multiple people in the conversation. And so to that, being a crew saver is something that maybe just takes one extra question, or being involved more in the conversation and getting the story, especially on a weird play like this, because if we had just explained a little bit more, or maybe if something didn't sound right, if we explained or asked another question or two and got more information, we could have realized, hey, we are going to enforce this wrong. So I think, again, being a crew saver, not being afraid to step up. My lesson out of this was asking the right questions. I'm in here and I just said, hey, what's the foul? Because my coach wanted to know. And where we're working, you can't hear the O2Os that well. So I ran over to ask. I didn't ask why. I didn't ask where it was touched. They just told me the foul and I said, okay. And I ran on back. It doesn't hurt to ask that extra question or two in a situation like this.
Yep, I think that's a great point, Devin. I mean, for my partner and I, maybe we should have slowed down and explained more to somebody, and maybe others on the crew could have it might just been one question and we could have got to the correct ruling. So
Well,
yeah,
did
that
you
was,
have replay on this game?
yeah.
We did.
Did they offer any help, or did they help at all?
See, the problem on this play is what's interesting is this is actually an AR. This particular scenario. No. We did have. There was one official, the umpire, who came in and said, "Hey guys, this isn't a foul." And to Devin and Ken's point, rather than just treating this as a routine foul, you always talk in pregame about slowing down. But I just from experience, we talk about it, but we don't necessarily do it when we're out in the field executing. And it doesn't take much to ask just one or two more questions, because the umpire was the one guy out of 9 people that had to play right. And had we just taken 10 more seconds to dissect the play, we would have gotten this correct, waved the flag off, and been able to move on without any issue.
I would say, to the point though, that is reviewable. Touching of a kick is reviewable if you're working a game with replay.
Yep.
And so is blocking.
Yes, so is blocking. But
And
in
my
this
question was going to be, was the receiving team initiating any kind of blocks? Or if you could run that back, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll do the high sideline if I can.
And I don't know if anybody answered me, but did replay interject anything on this play or no?
No,
They
No,
did not.
I mean, truthfully, and I hope I'm not speaking out of line here. I think we had an issue where there was only one individual that truly knew the rule, and that person decided to not step up and make sure that it got corrected.
I also think, Paul, for your point from a replay perspective, you can talk about, why don't you talk about the blocks here first?
Well, it looks like B's coming up, and it's kind of choppy on my end. I can't really tell who's engaging who, but this is reviewable, especially in this game. And that would, in other leagues it's not, but I just was curious if replay shut this down to two things, blocking and touching, like you said before, Nick. But
Well, I think, Paul, to the point you're making here about the blocks, you can make an argument. I think from a philosophical standpoint, it looks to me like all of those receiving team players are stepping up not to field the kick. So I would probably personally make those all B initiates the block.
I agree with you. Yeah.
But in addition to that, from a replay perspective, replay is not going to review those blocks because the receiving team has the ball.
Yeah, I don't think replay felt like there was anything to review.
Okay, I get it.
I mean, they won't review the blocks if the receiving team has the ball because there's no competitive effect there.
That is true.
But they also may have chosen, and obviously I can't speak for replay, and you guys may not be able to speak for replay either. When you consider the fact that the receiving team has the ball anyway, and it's only a 5-yard tack on, that may not be enough competitive effect for them to get involved with the fact that the kick was touched inbounds either. I bet if that happens at the 5-yard line instead of the 50, maybe replay is more apt to shut it down.
Yeah. Can we go to the sideline view?
Yeah.
Number 5 down here at the bottom.
Yeah, you saw that too. I
Did
was
we?
hoping someone-
I mean, you could call that a personal foul, or it's a talk to. I don't know how the games went.
It was
yeah.
a talk to. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you what's a talk to. But that guy, remind yourself, even though the kick's away, that people can do stupid things.
Yeah.
So myself and the line of scrimmage official saw this coming up. And you can kind of see here. I mean, you should be in concrete, right? You shouldn't be moving.
Yeah.
I would decleater. But yes, it was seen. Never take a play off.
Well, and also, again, it's kind of choppy from my point. It's kind of high. Like he kind of like extends that forearm, elbow out towards the head or neck area. So, I mean, that would be, and again, it's choppy. So it may be just the way it looks.
He does put some contact to him. He starts in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And pushes up, but
yeah.
I was expecting much worse when he was lining them up. So
yeah.
Hey, Devin.
Yeah.
We have 2 more plays. You want to try to hustle through them real fast?
Absolutely.
Real fast, one thing I want to add is remember when throwing your flags that it's a spot foul. We had 2 flags go high up in the air. So granted, we shouldn't have had a flag, but if you do have a flag, make sure we get it to the spot and not just high in the air.
And for replay, you talked about those blocks. They can watch the blocks and the touching. They can create fouls on both of those, right? That's 2 of the 8 they can create.
Yes.
So this was just a punt return for a touchdown. I think the line of scrimmage officials do a great job here of working the play coming at them. I also think the umpire does a great job of not getting sucked into the action. So he feels this coming in. He keeps working his way out. He's working his way inside out. Avoids getting run over or anything like that. But I think the line of scrimmage officials, the referee, do a great job here boxing the play in, working it through and through. So there's that. And then our last one, Ken, was play 10.
Yep, go ahead and play it. When the returner starts to turn upfield, you'll see suspect block. I think the back judge had called blindside block. The trainers preferred it to be a block in the back. So that's the first piece of this. If you look right, are you able to get back to that at all?
To the blind side or the
Or we can just move on to the potential targeting.
It'll come here in the replay it shows.
So right there, that block right on the hash.
Yeah.
And then if you can look to, I don't know, can we see the possible targeting?
You should on this one, yes.
So if we look at about the 35-yard line, right towards the end of the play, there's this block against number 37. So the question is not whether or not it's a foul, it's if it is, who would be able to help on this? And I personally think this could be the deep wing or potentially the umpire or back judge, maybe, but umpire, deep wing.
37, the kicker.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a reminder to everybody, kickers are defenseless throughout the down. Because this is certainly not a crown targeting.
What is also interesting about this play is you can kind of see the kicker, kind of see the guy coming and kind of like lose his footing, dropping him lower a little bit. I mean, it's still, there's nothing for that, but he does kind of lose his footing and kind of get lower where he may have only been hitting the chest, but there's no sorry targeting.
Does anyone have any opinions if anyone else would potentially have a look at this?
That's gonna be back judge or umpire, whoever side that is, because they're looking inside out.
I agree with you, Bill.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the short wings are going to be looking through too much stuff as that runner cuts back inside and only come late to that. So I don't think they're going to be able to help.
I agree. We don't have to show it, but looking at the sideline of this, I also think the deep wing, I don't see why the deep wing might not have a look at this at the top of the screen. I mean, so I don't know. This wasn't my game. I don't know. Was this discussed at all when it happened, or did anyone see that happen?
When we were reporting the foul for the blind side, replay let us know that they were looking at potential targeting. But didn't buzz us, right? They were just kind of looking at it. And we never got buzzed. So when I heard that, I thought they were looking at it from the blind side I had called. And when I'm reporting it, threw me off because I'm thinking, why, we're not close to target on that. Why are you looking at it? And then
Okay.
watching the play the next day, you see the hit and you're like, oh man, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So was it ever said if they wanted this to be a foul?
The evaluation came back as, did anyone see the potential target on number 37? So they didn't say it was targeting. They did mention that there's potential for it. I think, like what Nick said, like the end zone view shows, it's not crown, right? Because it's in the side. So, and that may have been the angle that replay used. So we were lucky that the film was good that day.
You said before that they didn't want that to be called blindside. They wanted it to be called.
Yeah. Trying to show. So I'll show up here. The eval came back that they prefer that to be blocking the back.
On.
On-
Okay.
On gray. And I don't know, I know there's like a delay
Okay.
when I'm showing this.
Is it
But-
against number 10?
It's against number
Against 10.
10.
Okay. Okay. I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's against 10. I saw it as, he was beat, obviously.
Mhm.
The way, and you never want to judge this, but I saw the contact in the shoulder. Yeah, kind of in the back, but also on the side. And the way he goes down, I mean, he gets taken off his feet and he falls to his side. So I came up with blindside. But yeah, the eval came back is that they would have preferred a block in the back on that instead of blindside. So.
So that's all we have.
Yep.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to put that together, and I appreciate you presenting. So thank you so much for that. A couple things to kind of wrap us up for tonight. Let me do this. Which screen is that? All right. All right. Can everybody see my screen, hopefully? Can anybody see my screen? Ken?
Yeah, you're good. Sorry.
Great. All right. So we've got some presentations scheduled out for a little bit. The next one that we'll be doing, Bill Foltz will be leading a presentation on mesh points and changing keys. That is a Wednesday night. The 11th is a Wednesday night instead of a Monday night, but it'll be at the same time. You'll get emails and calendar invitations and stuff like always. Then later in May, Stephen Clayton will do a tandem communication one. Then we kind of get into a series of things. The one I really wanted to talk about was teachable moments. If you have plays, like a play or two from last season that you'd be willing to share with the group, that you'd be willing to walk through with everybody, I'd appreciate it. There was a link to the Google sheet for that in the email that I sent out, and it'll be in each email I send out for the next couple of weeks. And I appreciate Frank already going in there and putting a couple of plays in. I will pull the plays for you so that they're available. I'll try to upload them ahead of our meeting to YouTube so I can get that done. If you're a COC official, you just let me know that it's on DV Sport. I'm going to assume, if you don't tell me what year it is, that it's from this past year. Stuff that's helpful is like which week would also be helpful, so I could find it a little more easily. If you're not a COC person, but you have it on DV, it's on DV Sport or something, or you have it on your personal drive that you want to either share it to me or something, we can make that work as well. But once we get past then, it's really kind of ramping up toward the CFO test. So I'll do some penalty enforcement presentations in June as well. And then we'll do the test review. I expect we'll have the tests by then, so we can look at doing test review in early July ahead of the deadline, which last year was like the 16th. So that's kind of where we're at. As it stands, if you get tests or quizzes from your groups, don't hesitate to share them with me so I can get them on our website so people can have them for reference to start working through them. I know I have the 2 COC tests should be on our website as well. But that's really all I've got. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask before we break for the evening? Hearing none. Richard, do you have something?
No, no, I didn't. I did want to talk to you about presenting maybe, but
Okay, appreciate it. All right, everybody. I appreciate your time tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I hope to see everybody here in a couple weeks. Take care.
Thanks, Devin. Thanks, Ken.
so